Hello and welcome to the first ever DMV Hockey Podcast. I'm Scott Lowe, the owner and operator of DMVProspects.com, and we're really excited to be able to bring this to you. We feel like podcasting and introducing people in the area and really all over the internet and the world to some of the great players who are currently playing hockey in our area between the ages of 15 and college, as well as those who have moved on to play in college or juniors in other parts of the country or even professionally in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. And we were really excited this week to try to get started because we had Bryce Montgomery in town playing in our Sunday night Elite League this week. Bryce recently signed a contract with the London Knights of the OHL. And we also have Mike Chen, who grew up in Montgomery County, went to Good Counsel High School, played junior hockey in the NAHL and the ECHL, and has played professionally in the ECHL the last couple years, and is looking to play in the KHL this year, as well as David Bondra, who has played professionally in Slovakia after growing up in this area and playing with Team Maryland and Little Caps. Played at Michigan State, played in the USHL and the BCHL. David and Mike are back to do a camp for us Friday, June 14th and Saturday, June 15th, a pro position camp, which is a unique opportunity for kids in our area to not only learn on the ice, but pick the brains of these guys who had two very different paths to pro hockey off the ice. We're excited to have those guys here to work with you guys, but also to have Bryce in town to play and introduce some of you to a new level of play. And having those guys around, we wanted to put our first podcast out, so this is not going to be perfect. We definitely had technical difficulties, but we think that the interviews were great and a lot of good information, and I'm going to do my best here to edit and weave our way through this and make it presentable, but just thanks for tuning in. Bear with us. It'll get better each week, and we're real excited to bring you our first podcast, so here goes. Hello and welcome to the DMV Hockey Podcast, our first ever DMV Hockey Podcast, and hopefully we're going to have a little contest on Twitter, on our Twitter account, to maybe rename the podcast. DMV Hockey is a little boring. What do you guys think?
I like it. It's very straight to the point. You know what you're getting into.
I think you could use a tune-up. Let's see what we got.
It is what we are, right? DMV Hockey. I'm here with Coach Joe Vanakis and Michael Chen. We'll introduce both those guys in a second. But like I said, this is our first podcast for DMVProspects.com, a website I started a few years ago after my son Devin was drafted in two Tier 2 junior leagues. A lot of people came to me and asked, how did you guys do it? How did you navigate it? How did you figure it all out? And enough people came to me that I thought, you know what, let's give this a shot. Let's see if we can promote the kids in this area, help educate them, help expose them. And it's just grown quite a bit over the last couple years. And which brings me to one of my coaches, Coach Joe Vanakis, was the 2016 ACHA Coach of the Year. Is that correct, Coach?
That is correct.
With the U.S. Naval Academy women's team. He also was with Navy Youth Hockey. He coaches my DMV Prospects showcase teams, coaches our Team DC High School All-Star team. You're at Skipjacks a little bit with Calvert Hall, Coach. Just tell me a little bit about what you've done the last couple of years here in the area.
Well, first off, thanks for having me on. This is year 2 for me being a part of things, and if there's one thing that I've noticed right off the bat is how large the network is. It's amazing how many kids in the DMV area, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia, that not only play but have a ton of experience playing at a high level. And regardless of where they go off to play, eventually end up coming back home at some point, and I'm just lucky to have the opportunity to work with them when they do get back.
Coach Joe is not only a general manager in our Sunday Elite League, he also has played, he's refereed. Have you recovered from Sunday's double-dip loss there, Coach?
We've gone back to the drawing board. We've made a couple phone calls, see who we can get for this coming Sunday.
I've noticed that already. My phone's been blown up. Can I play for Coach Joe?
It's a small recruiting pitch. Anything we can do to make the team better, but also keep the league growing. That's what it's all about.
So you played in one game, and you were Jerry Jones behind the bench as general manager in the other. tough weekend for the Flow, and you were with the Hosers. Was that who you played with?
Yeah, we started 0-2 for the first game of the regular season, tore up the preseason, but we like to start low and then eventually go finish on a high note.
Sounds good. And how about the little spill you took? You okay?
I personally think the red line stuck something out, or it could have been our referee, Billy Zinkin, but I'm not going to point any fingers.
He might have stuck his foot out.
I'm not going to point any fingers. I'm just going to focus on my backward skating and take advantage for next Sunday.
Sounds good. We're also joined today by Mike Chen, a local hockey product, Good Counsel High School graduate, played for Team Maryland, Montgomery. Earlier before that, did you play for Montgomery?
Yeah, I played for Montgomery until the Tier 1 program came around the area, and then I started with Team Maryland and then DC Caps, which ultimately turned into the Skipjacks run by the Kersners.
So you've had a busy couple years. We'll get into your career a little bit later in another segment, but you played D3 at Concordia and then Salem State, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
NCAA, 4 years, and then you've been kind of navigating the pro circuit, the Southern Pro League, the ECHL the last couple years. Talk a little bit about, just real briefly, what you've been up to.
Yeah, every summer's been quite a bit different. I mean, after I graduated D3, I actually got into grad school, so the whole summer was kind of tailored around that. And then through luck of the draw, Knoxville Icebears and the SP asked for one of my friends' info, and through that got to me, and I got a contract about a week before the season started, and just kind of gave it a whirl. Then last year, in the summer, I got a contract in the ECHL, and then this summer's been a little bit different. I wasn't planning on playing the following year, but got an interesting opportunity over in Beijing in the KHL, which might turn into some Olympic opportunity. But yeah, each summer's just been packed with training and working just to make some money along the way.
What was the biggest difference going from college to the Southern League and then to the East, like with the jumps? What was different each time?
I think the biggest thing is consistency. Each level, more and more guys can play the game in every situation. D3 or high-end guys, I say, get most of the points. They're on the power play PK, 5-on-5. They play in every situation. SPHL, you kind of have, your PK and power play guys. I'd say the top 3 to 5 forwards on every SP team could play in the coast, and then there's somewhat of a drop-off. And then once you get to the coast, it's a 19-man roster. Everyone can play. There's 10 forwards every game, so you're getting a lot more ice time. It's a little bit more consistent. Guys can catch passes in anywhere in their zone, especially on the back and in their feet. So every level you go up, it's just little things that are just a little bit better.
It's interesting. So you two guys knew each other before. Both the plan for this podcast is to have both Joe and Mike on the show as much as possible. We're really interested in following you wherever you go this year, Mike, and getting some stories and some updates about what the KHL and kind of following your season and also keeping you in touch with what's going on over here. So we hope to have you on as much as possible. You guys knew each other, have known each other for a while, played together, I assume, or against each other.
What was the first year? Was it Team Maryland? Phantoms?
Yeah, I think it was Team Maryland 14U. Ended up putting me back on D and lucked out. I got to play next to this guy and collect a bunch of plus.
Yeah, it was, I think that year we kind of brought together a lot of the Maryland hockey teams to create kind of one, I guess, elite program. Those kids from Montgomery, a couple kids from the Northern Virginia area, the Baltimore area, and unfortunately I got stuck with Joey.
Vonicus.
Yeah, you could tell that he wasn't a natural defenseman at first, but I think playing by me, I kind of taught him some things. So
that might be an understatement. I didn't even know how to skate backwards. No, but we had great coaches. Clay Carr obviously did a great job in putting that together. We had a ton of unbelievable talent and then just raw skill that we mixed in with some hard work, and we were able to put together at least a couple of years where we had some good teams, but even better coaching and good leadership.
Yeah, good guys on that team. I mean, to this day, we still keep in touch with a few. I mean, there was an unfortunate event that brought us all together, but I mean, I wasn't able to make the time you guys went out, but it brought guys that we've played with for our whole entire lives together.
So I'm fortunate that my son Devin grew up playing with Joe's little brother George, who played with the Maryland Black Bears this year in the NAHL after going to Kent School,
And after ripping up the EHL with the Little Flyers for half a season, Player of the Month twice, I think, Offensive Player of the Month. So I got to know Joe and his family, which is a great hockey family. His brother Nico also played at the Kent School, and they played at Towson together. I got to know their family through my son playing with George, the younger brother. And when I started all this, Joe was kind of, he'd been coaching for a while and really wanted to coach some elite kids and had a following in the area already. Great reputation, great hockey family. And I was fortunate that he was available enough and willing to kind of build the resume, I guess, and coach some of these elite kids. And we started last year with our training. We've been doing some showcase teams for the last 2 or 3 years, but we started training a small group with Devin last year. Devin needed to work on some things to move up the ladder in the NCDC, and Joe was willing to work with him. And then we kind of grew it to 3, 4, 5, 6 kids skating a few times a week. And we had our Sunday game, which was the beginning of the league last year. Now, Joe, we got 7 or 8 Stevenson players out here every day. We've got AAA kids, we've got prep school kids, we've got Tier 2 junior kids, and then even more fortunate, you brought Mike into the fold maybe a month or so ago, and he's been out there skating some, working with the kids. I mean, for me, to help build this, you guys have been tremendous, and it's, I'd just like to get both your feedback on where these kids, what the level of kids that we have out here. It's pretty impressive.
Well, I think first off, the level of commitment is what separates, and if you want to play at the NCAA level, you want to play at the Tier 1, Tier 2, even Tier 3 junior levels at the higher end teams, is you have to be committed, and being committed is sitting next to Mike here. He's driving an hour and a half one way just to come down and get a skate and train some of the defense. And I think that's what separates. Is he's not sitting here complaining. He's not sitting here looking for excuses. It's just making it happen and getting here not only early but prepping to train defense specifically for whatever they're going to do next year. And it starts now. It doesn't start at training camp. It's a process, and if you have good people around, which luckily we do with Mike and obviously Scott, connecting the dots for everybody to come together, it makes a difference.
Mike, you've spent a lot of time training with Pinnacle in the past. Great training, high-level guys, great coaching. And, you come down here and see what's going on here. Just your thoughts on what, working with these guys and what you've seen so far.
I'd say the biggest thing that I've noticed is the amount of players at the level that they play at. You can teach all the skill you want and do all the development you want, but it's nice to have, we have 19 to 20 guys on the ice every session, so it's nice to be able to implement whatever they're learning into game situations. I know you guys play games on Sundays, and I think that's a big advantage to be able to get them into game situations and get their game legs under them. It's not the same as in season, but you still get that competitive level. Sure. And you see that. I'm here on Thursdays. We do a little competition day with mini games and everything, and they're fun in games, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to win, and it's nice having 20 guys on the same page with how hard they want to work.
And gals. Shout out Stevenson Women's.
Oh yeah.
You got Lacey Eden here today.
Lacey's going to come and skate.
U.S. Women's 18 and under national team player. So that's great. Just to involve, that's the next step for our business, I think, is to get more elite girls involved and help them. They've already got a great avenue here with the Washington Pride that sends a lot of kids off to college every year. But, that's kind of the next step for us. And a little bit of a segue, you talked about the Sunday Night League and the games. The original thought behind that was I worked in college athletics for 15 years, but not at schools that had hockey, D1 basketball schools. And part of the D1 basketball players' training every year in the summer is to play high-level pickup games with other college guys and pro guys. And they're in the weight room and they're doing their off-the-court stuff. But 2-3 days a week, they're out there playing high-level pickup games without coaches where they can try things and play at a really high speed and see what they can and can't do and learn a little bit. And that was kind of what I wanted to create with hockey. It's just really hard in this area because we don't have much ice available, and it's hard to get high-level kids on the ice. You have a wide range of kids all the time. Joe, you've been around the games this year, and we've had kids like Bryce Montgomery, who's going to go play for the London Knights, and Stephen Halliday, who was a top draft pick in the USHL last year, and a bunch of Tier 2 junior kids in NCAA Division III. I think we had 15 college kids playing in one of the weeks. Just a little bit about, your thoughts on the season so far and the level of play that you've seen.
I would say the level of play is it just gets better and better every game. I think you start in preseason and you have a good mix, obviously, like you said, college, junior, and some Tier 1. And I think the level increases because